Hey guys, and welcome to another video in my C++ tutorial series. Today we'll be talking about the skeleton of C++ and we'll be going deeper to understand what each of the things you see when you start a simple C++ programming language code looks like. So think of it like this. Before building a house, you need to get the solid framework. You need to get the structure of it before you first install the windows, the doors, and the interior and exterior decorations. So think of C++ skeleton as the main framework of C++ without the without everything else. So it's just the basic structure. So first of all, we are going to start by opening code blocks and then we'll continue from there.
You went all than a dude she and never know what I'm meant to be. Trying to hold on to the day I we finally forsake.
Okay, so now we've opened code blocks and we'll click on create new project. We'll click on console application, click on go, and then we'll click on next over here. We check to see that is C++. We continue, and then for this project title, I think I'm going to name it skeleton of C++. So that's what you are going to call it. Click on next and then we click on finish. So now our workspace will change. We'll see the skeleton of C++ here. We'll click on sources and click on main CPP. So basically today in this tutorials video, we are going to talk about everything from include iostream to using namespace std to int main to cout to endline and return 0 and everything else. So we're talking about that today. So stay tuned and we'll go deeper. Okay, so when we start our C++, we often notice that there's something at the very top of our C++ programming language, which is include iostream. Today we'll be focusing mostly on the iostream section of that. So in C++, we have these two functions known as the cin and cout. Now, cin is responsible for taking inputs into the program, and then cout is supposed to display inputs. It's supposed to display information on the screen to the user. So with the cin and cout, we can find those particular tools in iostream. So let's say iostream is like a toolkit that is specially designed to contain those functions. And by saying include iostream, we are basically telling the computer that we want to use iostream, that is the toolkit that contains cin and cout, to perform certain functions in the code. So basically, that is what the cin and cout does. And that is what the include iostream is supposed to do. Okay, so moving on, we have something we know as using namespace std. Now, using namespace std, its main function is to declare that we are going to be using a certain folder or a certain namespace throughout our computer programming. But to understand this more, using namespace std simply means C++ on its own is a massive language with plenty features inside. So these features have been grouped or categorized into folders known as namespaces. Now, when we go ahead and declare this first, we don't have to repeat declaring that we are using this particular namespace in our programming language. Basically, if we didn't declare this, whenever we are writing our programming language, we will need to declare that we are using the standard library all the time. But then by declaring this first, we already know that we are using the standard library. So the C++ program just overwrites everything and makes a reference that we are using this standard library. Okay, now so we are moving to int main. Now int main is like the main boss of this whole show. So with this int main and with the curly brackets here and which ends here, we are trying to say that within these two curly brackets, from where the int main starts, that is where the main C++ coding is going to happen. In this space, that is where every single thing you want the C++ program to execute should be typed in there. So that space is where all the important code happens. As you can see, there's a code already here that is C out hello world. We couldn't bring this before after the curly brackets because the curly bracket is supposed to specify what exactly we want to program. So that's what the int main does. Now we are going to skip to return 0 and we will understand what return 0 does. Now return 0 is basically like the stop sign in a programming language. When the computer program is executing this, when the computer is executing this program, it's going to look at iostream, understand what we mean by iostream, go to using namespace std, go to int main, go to the actual code we want to run, and then when it reaches return 0, it's basically telling it that we are done with everything, and if there are no errors and no problems, the code should run successfully. So that is the bottom, and that is return 0. Nothing comes after return 0 in a C++ programming language. So that's like our full stop. And the curly brackets is just to specify that this entire place is where the code should run, or that entire space is where the actual code is. So taking it from the top, include iostream is basically including a toolkit, which is known as iostream, which contains certain features we want to access in our programming language. So by writing this here, the program will recognize that we are using the toolkit known as iostream, so it will overlook everything and work accordingly. Now we move on to using namespace std. Now this is a standard library and it's basically like a folder containing certain features. Now to prevent us from writing std every single time we write a line of code, which would be very weird, we just declare this first so that the computer overlooks everything else. And then we move on to the main boss, which is int main. And with the int main, it's basically signifying that everything else that is coming after this is what we want the computer to actually run. That is where all of our meaningful code will be executed. And then finally, return 0, which is basically the end of all things in a C++ programming language. So we are going to go ahead and build this. So when we build this, we see over here process terminated with status 0 minute, 3 seconds, 0 error, 0 warning, 0 minutes. Basically, it's trying to tell us that there were no errors and there are no problems with our code. So we just go ahead and run it. So when we run it, we see hello world here, and hello world is what we actually wanted to do. So we have succeeded. Now, before we close everything, I'm going to talk about cout and then end line. Now, with the cout, it's basically a feature of C++ that displays information out to the user. So it's basically displaying this hello world information to us. You see, when we ran the program, we saw hello world on our screen. That is because of the cout. It's basically bringing information that's inside the computer here out to us. So cout. So that's the function of the cout. And then with the end line, it is supposed to show us that that is where that line of code has ended with a semicolon. Now, if the end line wasn't included, the code will still be able to run, but then it will look a bit different. And we'll go deeper into that in our next video. So if you are curious, stay tuned, like, subscribe, and share this video with other people you feel like may be interested in this type of content. So basically today we've talked about the whole complete structure of a C++ skeleton. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you.